Yokoji today, where there was we had a retreat that was being held, a 7-night Zen retreat from a different successor of Maizumi Roshi so in the same family as Yokoji, but a different teacher with a little different way of doing things and a different approach to teaching. Felt like a successful week for folk. It had me thinking about different practices and different approaches to meditation. And the topic this week, which is about the simplicity of practice, really the simplicity of presence. What is it when meditation and our way of practice, or dharma practice, is stripped down to its most fundamental appearance? What is that? You know, we talk often about awakening. It's become a more popular word than enlightenment. Enlightenment in some ways is something of maybe a little bit of a tarnished word with how it was handled or presented over the years, maybe in the early decades of practice in the United States. Very event-driven, the word enlightenment, to achieve enlightenment, and then maybe having people who had supposed to have achieved enlightenment who would be teaching from that place, and that could mean that enlightenment, a shadow to that, is that some people are enlightened and some are not, right? That's and all of the issues that can come from setting up that dichotomy. In the Mahayana tradition, I say the Mahayana tradition, it's really in the later Zen Mahayana tradition. There's some words ascribed to the Buddha at the Buddha's enlightenment. And depending on the translation of the version, then it said that in one, it says, the Buddha exclaimed, "I, all beings, simultaneously attain the way." So at the moment of enlightenment, I and all beings simultaneously attain the way. And another version in the Zen tradition is, "I, all beings, the great earth, are the wisdom and virtue of the awakened one to thusness." That's a little more wordy, but he hadn't spoken for 7 days, so there's quite a lot maybe that needed to come out. I, all beings, the great earth, are the awakened one to thusness. So if we look at this word awakening, say we're in this practice, we're practicing meditation in order to awaken. Awaken from what and to what, though? You know, if we imagine that we're going to wake up from a dream, then we may find that we wake into another level of dream, right? I remember that movie. I don't know if you remember the movie Inception, the Christopher Nolan movie, where they have all of these different levels of dream, and each one is a complete reality, which can fool you into thinking it's the only reality. So, good movie. So, awaken from what and to what? Well, if we speak from the standpoint of the human condition, which is the only standpoint I can speak from, I'm having this very human experience, and I've been having this human experience for 52 years, which is wild, you know, it kind of goes like that. Having this experience of being human, then we live with this, I live with this curiosity of self-nature. So we have this, we are this aware nature. Each one of us here, whether we're here in person or attended via Zoom, in the curious way in which we're connected, are being experienced by awareness. There is something fundamental in our experience which is common to all of us, a common awareness. That we're all, like we're here right now looking upon one another, and we see one another. There's a shared experience or a shared root. But then it's expressed in a multitude of ways, 30 different ways or so in the room, a dozen different ways or 20 different ways online. We're all having a unique human experience within that broader category. And that self-identity is, can be the complete experience for a person. It's just me. Me, in a world of other and different things. Right? But that is challenged by the historical Buddha's statement that I, all beings, have the awakened want of usness, or I, all beings, simultaneously attain the way. He didn't say, I have achieved enlightenment and you have not. You know, some people have not. It's just like, no, everything is awake. All things are awake at once. And then he adds, but because of our upside down views, we fail to see it. So the fact of awakening or enlightenment is really, in this context, a birthright or a fact, but it is obscured and not seen by this upside down view. Right, so we could say that we awaken from an unconscious experience. It's just completely consumed by the me, I, self identity, which is living, between the ears and navigating the world in a very dualistic and divided way. And we can all, I'm sure, relate to that, right? It is, in fact, the way that we live every day. Right? There is the sense of I, me, in a world of other people. No matter how many hours your backside has been on a cushion or a chair or practicing, that's always there. But if it's the only experience, kind of I, me, self, then the world is always fractured and split. There is a hard other. There is a hard split and a separation. And many of us that come to Dharma practice have felt the sting of that in various different ways in our experience. And there's almost a nagging, perhaps like a nagging doubt or a nagging remembrance that, this isn't all there is. Or I'm missing something which I once had, that I once knew. So there's the remembrance back to a time where the truth of a broader experience wasn't obscured and wasn't lost. And so we begin a practice. We come to meditation classes, we start to read or learn or study about Dharma, whether in a traditional context, secular context, many different ways to explore this mystery of self. So if we awaken from in spirituality we'd say, an unconscious self, and then what is it to awaken to a conscious experience of self? This is our practice, this is the art of our still meditation. That is the opportunity to turn to this simplicity of present awareness, where we arrange our bodies, the bell is struck, you may hear it or not, right? And then we have this time. Now we say that we're going to sit for 30 minutes, right? Which is a length of time, and as a human being, as a form in this world, we're subject to time, right? We live in time. But the expression of time is impermanence. Anything that is bounded by time is also impermanent in nature. Now that can be a real problem for us as human beings. Right? That was the motivation for the Buddha's practice and countless other spiritual or religious practitioners over the years, to see that we live a kind of a time-bound experience, and therefore we are subject to all things appearing and disappearing and ultimately collapsing. Right? So although we say, okay, we're going to sit now for 30 minutes and the bell is struck, then what is our experience then? What is the test of the experience of our meditation? At the beginning I was give that kind of encouragement to directly experience what is what is thus, even to say something that is appearing, it sort of makes it feel like it's coming from somewhere and going to somewhere, right? But really the world is here and is always here, and all that changes is the appearance. All that changes is the forms of things. But there is a constancy and a sameness that is always being expressed as an eternal awareness, or might as well be eternal awareness, that we all are. Another aspect to self, which is still present and aware. Still present and aware, and not concerned with difference and change, is unconcerned with time and appearance, but is always just still, present, and thus. And why do we turn to what? Why do we practice that? Well, the time-bound me, I, self world of difference is by nature dissatisfactory. Right? This is a Buddha pointed this out as the fact of dukkha, dissatisfactoriness. We cling to the things we wish to hold on to and endure, and the things that we like, and then we are averse to the things that we don't want to do or don't want to have in our life. But we're never on the right side of that equation. We're always somewhere as a human being in attachment and aversion. And if we live only in attachment and aversion as a separate feeling entity, kind of person in that way, then we live an unconscious life. It doesn't mean it's not a productive life or a useful life or a helpful life. It's not to denigrate people who are not involved in meditation or practice. And people come to so-called enlightenment and awakening by many different means, in many different ways, in many different cultures. And here we practice meditation, and we've got a handful of ways in which to do it, depending on the teacher and the lineage and the experience. And that's a nice wide offering, and so people can practice with the affinity that they feel for those teachers. And we only have to go online, and then you can find as many just this broad wealth of teachings from people from long ago or contemporary. Right? So we don't lack for ways to practice the Dharma. But the most important way is to truly realize and access this still enduring present, impersonal present awareness that is always available and always so. Whether it's busy, whether it's noisy, or whether it's quiet, whether it's light, or whether it's dark. But that is a challenge to the fixed nature of self. That's a challenge to I, me, because I, me loves entertainment and some drama. Right? Loves a story, loves a narrative, and loves a tussle. Likes the tussle with life. Right? And we tend to focus often on the negatives. It's when I came in, and just walking in and just chatting a little bit, and I saw Patrick here, and it's like, "How was your August?" And I said, "Oh, got COVID." Lots of other things happened in August too. Many of them were really good, like wonderful things. But I forgot about all of the wonderful stuff. I got COVID, yeah, and I had and traveling. Like you think about traveling, and usually the things you recollect was like, the screw up at the airport, right? And so we like to, or we naturally as human beings, we like to focus on the negative. Right? There's an evolutionary, it's just a biological and evolutionary traces there that drive us as human beings, where we are focused. We're wired toward focusing on things that are wrong. Right? That in order to perpetuate and to live and to go forward, it's take everything good for granted until it's gone. Right? But then all the things that are irking or going wrong, let me focus on those. I certainly do it. Right? And then we find if we talk with other people, they've got their list too, and then we're just, okay, let's now share, right? And then that negative bonding of we like to complain or dig in that way. So that's what we do as human beings. We're not such different than the other primates in this way, but, right? We like to, or maybe we are a little different in that way. But we're always concerned with good and bad and right and wrong and right? Now again, I mentioned at the beginning we just had this retreat at the Zen Center, and we're going to have another retreat in just a week's time, another 7-day, and then a full retreat season through Thanksgiving, including the Long Beach retreat, right? Little plug, right? Early October, it always sells out, so if you come in, do it, register soon. All these different ways to focus and to practice. In my own practice, after a lot of years at the Zen Center, working on koan study, the work of just living in community, which is kind of challenging. People are challenged. We're all challenging. Doing all of that. I went toward, near the end of my formal training, which is just, formal training. It's not like you complete that and then you ascend to the, to the Pure Land. It's still, you still do everything that you already did. But toward the end of the formal training, a great friend of ours, Ted Staunton, who's a teacher, he comes to the Zen Center at times, and he's followed his own path in Dharma practice. And he'd always point out this presence. He'd often point to just point out presence. Now, right now, in the immediacy of now. And sometimes he'd say, just this. Right? Just point out, it's just this. It's just this. If you're not ready to hear, right, it's just this. That's a difficult pill to swallow. Yeah, it's just this. Right? I remember having an encounter where somebody had come to live there and practice, and he signed on for a year or a couple of years, and had this job, and they were going to have some responsibility, and then something happened in their life, and they decided, actually, I'm going to leave. Right? I'm going to leave, I'm going to take off. When you go in Monday, it's just, I'm out. And I remember at the time I was so angry about that. Because, in my, what needs to be done to run the place and the work, and we've arranged everything, and now this person just, I'm sure you have your own examples you could relate to, right? And this person just ups and leaves, and they've got their reasons why, but god damn it, right? And I remember kind of railing about this, and I remember Ted saying to me, it's fine. It's fine. This is the way that it is, it's fine. And I really railed against that at the time. I've still had a lot of practice, and then, again, at the end or maybe at the end of formal study, it's just like, yeah, no, I get that, but it's fine. Fundamentally, it's fine. Intrinsically, it's fine. But you know what? It's not fine. It's not fine. And I just ruminating or remembering that now, and just how both sides are true. it wasn't fine, right? That's the relative side of things. We have challenge and difficulty and problems in all of our lives, with loved ones, with colleagues, with the world in general, all of the things that are right and wrong. And then it's all relatively important. And we're in the midst of it as human beings. It's all relatively important. But none of it is absolutely important. There is that aspect which is, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It is the way that it is. And this is the way the world is choosing, or awareness is unfolding the world. For what reason, don't know. How it began, don't know. What it means, don't know. Where all of it, right, is we very quickly hit what the fact of not knowing, but we are all living in the midst of this unfolding reality. And within it, in a relative way, there's all of the things that we do, the struggle against, all of the ups and the downs and the in-betweens. But the simplicity of realization, the simplicity of just this, is to leap beyond that relative condition. And to recognize and find the reality of this absolute unconditioned. That is this now. That is always so. That is always thus. It doesn't mean that that's where you now move to. That sounds like a great place. And then when you find it, oh, I'm going to live here now. Right? You don't live in emptiness or live in that sameness. You're still a human being with the same relative causes and conditions that we're all navigating. But once you wake up to stillness, presence, and this principle that I'm trying to point toward, then you know it. Then you know it for yourself. It is a place of refuge. It is a place of surrender. And when I wrote this topic, I added a line that said, we have to, or something like that, declare, whatever way you do it, declare a unilateral peace with this. Whatever you call this, life, reality, the mystery, whatever word, especially or particularly in the practice of sitting, in meditation, is from the outset, declare that a unilateral peace. After all, we're sitting here, and don't have to be involved in a lot of doing, so much more able to apply that unilateral peace, where we allow the fullness of our experience to be met as is, without a value system determining what's welcome and what's not. Now that may still or will still function within us, but if it runs you, then you're run by conditions. But if we can experience the rise and falls of conditions as one who is unconditioned, it doesn't run you. Right? That's like the practical example of when we're sitting, you may be sitting with a busy mind. And you want a quiet mind, but it's not cooperating. Now, if we find issue with that, then now you've got two problems. And it makes meditation difficult. But if it can just be awared as it is, and not added to, right? You don't pour gas on the fire of a busy mind. But let it play, let it unfold, let it be as it is. This is a place, meditation is a place of refuge, and a place where you return, because conditions become burdensome. Life becomes heavy. dealing with people and things. Or it certainly does so for me. You always have available, if it's just 30 minutes or just 5 minutes, a time where you stop, become still, and fully allow things to be as they are without the preferences running you. Again, you may still notice the preferences, but who is that one who sits and observes your own thinking mind? Right? If we're just in the place of the kind of a more of an asleep I, me, there's no space there. It's just I, me thinking about things. And maybe having a conversation, having a conversation in the head. But then when you become more aware or more realized through practice, then you watch and experience and listen or watch that occur. Who are you then when you're the one who experiences your own thoughts and can just watch? That is then, turning to that place of just choiceless, aware experience. And gaining some distance there, or a broader look where the I, me, and all of these causes and conditions, they're still going on, and you can get in there and play that game, and that's what we do. We still live as human beings. But the place of stillness, the broader present awareness, is always available and no longer obscured. No longer obscured. And that functions as a place of stillness and refuge, where you can just fully surrender to that, while having no idea what that is or means. But then there's the choice when conditions are difficult, right? When the world piles on. When you're on to use a personal anecdote, when you're at the very back of the plane in the worst spot in coach opposite the bathroom, and you're like, what am I doing? I gotta sit here for 6 hours. You can continue to spin the wheels and add to the story, blame the world and people and things, and especially that guy over there, or whatever is driving that. But if you become a person of presence, and that is truly accessible and available, then you always have the choice to just let it go. And to just stop adding to your own suffering, your own dukkha, and to stop offering that to the world and transmitting that. Things may be difficult on a relative level, but you can allow that and decide to not make things worse, but to rather radically accept things as they are. And then space opens up. Relief opens up. And from that place of spaciousness and that relief, we find, this isn't so bad. And there's things that I can do to make things better for this one, for everyone else. And so most of us in Dharma practice, we start, in whatever way we start from a place as human beings of that purely relative, split, I, me, difference world. Through meditation, through Dharma practice, whatever way that you approach, with effort, diligence, and maybe a double scoop of good fortune, as causes and conditions align, then a deeper aspect is revealed. As that deeper aspect is revealed, then you have to practice bringing that to the fore. Because it's easy to just fall asleep again. It's easy to just fall in, and that's always right there. No matter, you can have sat for 100 years and earned all the plaudits and wrote the books and People give you a special title and bow when you walk past. But that me, I, self, ego identity is ready to swallow and reclaim it all the time. Unless you keep the doors to presence, selfless presence, wide open. But fortunately, that's as easy as sitting down, becoming still, and then let go, put it aside, put it down, drop it off, whatever words work there. You know, but as an essential component, what we may learn deep method, you know, part of myself, like I go through Zen, koan study, thousands of hours session, sleep deprivation, you know, all of the stuff that's in the training, and it's very good method. And then somebody comes along and just says, dude, it's just this. And it's like, wow, don't tell me that. You know? But it's also true. You know, there's a poem in Zen, and I just like quote a part of it where it just says, oh, it was something, it was actually it's a poem, and it was a gift that I got from after being guided teacher here for a number of years. It's from an old Zen master who said, the sound of something struck, and I've forgotten all I knew. He says, I think Kyogen, when sweeping, he swept the pebble, struck a piece of bamboo, and that sound, he said, the sound of something struck, and I forgot all that I knew. Training was not even temporarily necessary. You know? The wonder of seeing that all of the effort you make in spiritual practice was not even temporarily necessary. You realize that. However, when he realized that, he'd done a lot of training. Like the beautiful irony of dharma or spiritual practice. You have to train and sit and practice and struggle to realize, oh my gosh, fundamentally, no need to struggle and practice or make any effort. You know, but that's the irony. That's humans becoming Buddhas, one slow step at a time. You know, which is a long tradition that we're all a part of now.